is a picture of a lot of colorful buoys that I found on Pixabay, and I'm excited about this painting because it's got a lot of color in it, and my hope is that it won't be terribly difficult, just a lot of color. What I've done is gone out and drawn it on Yupo, and I'm going to mask. I think you could either do direct painting or masking, but I'd like to mask all the buoys and then put in the background, and then put a texture on the background, remove the masking fluid, pop in the color, and hopefully it will just be a snap. We'll find out. I'll start by lightening the drawing. I'm just going to mask all of what I've drawn out, and I'll let this dry. Our masking is now dry, and I'm going to put in the background. For the wood, I've selected mushroom and teak wood and a cotton ball. I'm just going to put some texture in. And toward the base, there's some grass, so this is some meadow. Begin by just dropping the ink. And just covering it with the cotton ball here. And I'll put the meadow down here. And I'll let this dry for a second and then pull off the masking fluid. So the ink should be dry enough for me to pull off the masking fluid. So I've got the masking fluid off, and in looking at the picture, there's a lot of color in here, and it's exciting. So I think I'm going to start with markers and put in all the colors that I've got, and then come back in with the bottled ink when I need to pop up some of the color and make it a little bit more intense. But I think the markers will give you the most control and the quickest route to filling in all these different colors. So I've gathered a bunch of markers that look like they're in the picture. I don't have the greatest marker collection, so I will probably have to do some bottled ink, but depending on whether you have more bottled ink or more markers, it'll probably affect what you pick. But I'm just going to start from here and just add color. On areas that have obvious highlights, I'm kind of attempting to skip coloring that. This is a pale blue, and I just realized I made that one that color. We'll just switch them. Many of these just have multiple colors in them. This is a darker red. This is the one that I did backwards, next to the neighbor here. Figure out what's missing. But this is kind of a darkish gray. Oh, and there's pink. This is a lavender. I'm going to use it to add a little color to the ones that are white. We've laid in our initial color, and we need to start making these look like dimensional objects. So one way is to put some shadows behind them. So I've got a dark brown marker, and I'm going to use it to kind of clean up some of the edges and begin to add some shadow behind them. Some areas have considerably darker shadows. I'm going to use this dark gray. I'm just kind of laying in the dark shadow. We'll come back and make it all look decent later. But this is all in the foliage as well. This is kind of a brownish gray. I'm going to use it to put in some of the wood panels. So I'm going to figure out where to start. I'll just start in the center here. I'll do a little bit more just to make sure I got these shadows kind of in the wood here. And then I'll do some lifting. This is the cotton swab and some alcohol. Just add a little more wood grain texture here. Now I'm going to take a pass with the sepia pen and kind of clean up the edges of the buoys, and then we'll add a lot more color into them. So I'm going to use some eggplant and add some shading in. This is with the brush. And some brighter inks. This is sailboat blue. This is dandelion. It is a very bright yellow, a little bit to the yellow-green side, but it will definitely pep up some of these colors. And this is Valencia. Add some energy to our oranges here. This is Poppy Field for the reds. Got some botanical here. That's a pretty bright green. And now we'll do some lifting. Next step I'm going to do is add in the foliage down in the bottom. And we'll start with botanical. It's pretty bright. And so our buoys are coming together. We've got some lots of color, some dimension. We've got a lot of very hard edges around them, and I'd like to soften that a little bit. And I'm going to do that with splattering. And see if I can be gentle with it. So that helped a little bit, but I still need to go around and kind of soften many of these edges. So I'm just going to take the cotton swab and just kind of dull or erase some of the edges. We have a lot of hard lines on purpose, but we don't need them all now. Now that the edges are a little softer, I'm going to splatter it again. And I'm going to look a little bit more at the wood design. And I'm going to work on the foliage a little bit. This is still just alcohol. I'm going to add some grass with this green marker. So now we need to just bring a little more structure back in. So I'm just using the appropriate markers. So a little bit of lifting and softening. Do a little bit with the fine tip black pen. I wanted to make this one pink again. And I also wanted to add just a little more shadow beneath some of these. I'll have to blend it in, but this is a dark brown instead. Use just a lighter marker to kind of like add some wood grain into those shadows. I also like to just see if I can highlight, pull out a little bit more than some of the ones that are not shadowed. I'm going to add one more splat. luckily no harm was done there. So I've done the smart thing. I have scanned it, so we have something to show for this process. But it is really just so tight. So I'd like to introduce more color in more areas and bring, yellow into the orange and just a little bit more action. I'm also going to do some more drastic splattering. This is wild plum in the toothbrush. Oh my goodness, that was really drastic. So that was pretty exciting there. But since I do have a picture of it, I'm not too worried. I'm going to take some sunshine and just start adding more color in. I'm also going to put it throughout the background. Next I have botanical. And this is mermaid. I've got poppy field. And I'm going to try to see if I can get a little more light in some of the wood. And I'll do a little more with the white pen. Just a few edges that I wouldn't mind just removing or softening. And I think I'll stop here.